Hello, my fellow readers. This is Dark Symphony 777 with another fanfiction reading. As always, the link to the story will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notifications, leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts on the story, and finally, this is my opinion. My opinion is not indicative of everyone in the world, so please respect that. So, I got the story, Realizations from a Scrapbook by Calamorous Chowder. No idea why I stuttered on that. It is an Earthbound fanfiction, and, it's Earthbound. Yeah. I didn't think there was many. I wonder. Hold on. I'm sating my curiosity. 1.2k. Didn't know there was that many. Well, I sated my curiosity. There you go. So, let's get started. It was a warm September morning. The frost has freshly melted from the strands of the golden grasses of autumn, like glimmered from the tips of the fur-like meadows within the town of Onet. The daybreak of the day had marked the first 2 weeks since the war against Gygas has ceased. That day, that very four brave children had saved the world itself. 3 boys and a girl. Currently, one of the 4 heroes was lying lazily on his cream-colored sofa in the front room of his house. He still felt the fatigue of the whole ordeal, so his mother had decided on allowing him a month's extra rest from school. Ness obviously wasn't complaining. His mother was running out errands and told the 13-year-old to watch his little sister while she was out. Why couldn't she have just taken Tracy with her? He really didn't know. The sun began to filter through the window positioned behind the couch, and while the blue curtains appeared to glow like the sky, the furniture cast a shadow onto Ness's face. The boy grumbled as he pulled himself up to a sitting position. He glanced at one arm of the chair and saw a scrapbook that he got familiar with over the past couple weeks. He hadn't opened it in over a week, so he decided to give it another go. The very first page that was next to a note on the left-hand side, most likely written by the photographer himself, showed a picture of himself on his first day of his adventure. He couldn't help but notice that his cracked baseball bat was blurred, and his facial expression showed nothing short of alarm. Well, would anyone be startled by a man who literally came from the sky? That's reason and turned to the next page. The next snapshot was of himself in a rickety old cabin he had wasted a good $7,500 on. How do you get $7,500? I don't fucking know. RPG mechanics. Anyway, and by the looks of the picture, Ness looked both miserable and angered. He had actually forgotten about that cabin until right then. The third photograph. Why the fuck was I don't know why I was doing that. The third photograph was, of course, once again, just himself, standing in front of a bike shop in Tucson. As usual. Hear me. Just woke up. He only rode the bike once after purchasing it. It proved to be quite the useless item with sluggish movement and impossible to steer handlebars. And on top of that he had even more friends with him to collect the melodies. He couldn't exactly leave them behind with his bike. Goody? He flipped to the next page. This time the photograph wasn't just of himself, but this time he was standing next to a girl the same age as himself. They were both standing in front of a brick building with a sign saying Chaos Theater in bold blue-green letters. Obviously, his companion looked startled with her pink teddy bear clutched tightly in her arms and her light blue eyes round with fright. Just by looking at this picture, memories instantly washed over him like the crashing waves of an angered sea. He remembered receiving quite the literal pencil eraser item from a clever boy named Apple Kid. He remembered fighting the blue cults and getting a key. He remembered the click the lock made after opening the rusty door that groaned when opened. He remembered the look of joy of his friends when she stepped outside of her prison. The smile upon Paula's face when they went to the Runaway Fives concert when they were in town, and the glow in her eyes whenever they run a fight. But it wasn't always fun and games. He remembered the time first time Paula was effortlessly knocked aside by a territorial oak's exploding flames. He remembered when everyone was mushroomized. I know. Fun fact. I know what this is referring to. This is actually an item in Smash Ultimate. Whenever me and my friends actually play with this, it was like, would you like to be grab it and hit each other? We go, would you like to be mesmerized? While the others just flail around. It's like, oh no, I don't want to be mesmerized. I had to do it. I'm sorry. I apologize for interrupting the story. I thought it was I just think so. Fun memory. I guess me and my friend were mostly playing Fortnite lately because we kind of like the game. Don't doubt it. Every, everyone was mesmerized at once and were throwing heated hits at random. He remembered getting trapped in the pit, thanks to a horde of zombies and threed. He remembered having to say farewell to Paula once their journey was done. The departure still made the boy very sorrowful. He swore he could feel the grief clawed him like cats rubbed the wrong way. Thankfully, only on certain days. Nez tightened his grip on the book and set it carefully on the sofa's arm where he usually placed it, and closed his brown eyes tightly, hoping his sadness wouldn't overcome him. And then, of course, the boy heard the sound footsteps creaking down the stairs. Any other time would have been fine, Ness said to himself as he forced his eyes open. Ness? A young girl's voice sounded from the bottom of the stairs. Tracy began to advance towards him. Do you know where King is? I think he's outside. Why don't you go too, Tracy? Ness replied curtly, wanting to be left alone. No, that can't be right, Tracy reasoned. King never goes outside unless someone's with him. Ness struggled to keep up with the pain welling up inside of him, so he didn't answer. But Tracy continued to keep her gaze on him as Ness closed his eyes even tighter. So you don't know where he is then? Ness looked up at his younger sister. But why don't you go outside and play with Picky? He suggested calmly. But Picky, Tracy was cut off. Please, just go, Ness quietly pleaded. Tracy, knowing that this was sincere and somewhat of a plea, walked toward the brown wooden door without complaint, opening it slowly and looked back at her brother. Bye then. Ness waved back and smiled as she swung the door gently behind her, and it closed with a soft click. The boy tried to recollect his thoughts as he stared blankly at a wall, but wasn't as upset when Jeff and Pooh left. So why act up like this when he said goodbye to Paula? She was clearly an excellent friend as well as a fighter, but the others were also great to him. So what made Paula so special? Was it her ability to just put so much faith in humanity as to pray for help to them while fighting Gygas? Was it just to? It was just that she could use any old frying pan as a lethal weapon. I mean, to be fair, if you hit someone with a cast iron, it doesn't matter how strong it is, it's gonna do some damage. Let's be honest. Was it just him? And then it hit him. Ness, thank you for escorting me home. Blue eyes met brown, but they quickly dove for the girl's shoes. I wanted to tell you something, but I forgot what it was, she mumbled. He replayed the thought in his head a couple more times. Paula rarely said anything not worth anyone's time and was anything but forgetful. Was it important? If it was, how could she possibly forget? Thinking for a moment longer, realization struck upon his head like a well-aimed strike of the baseball bat. Did you try to tell me that? Mrs. facial expression brightened so quickly that it was almost comical. I hope I'm right about this. The boy practically leapt off the couch and headed cheerfully to the door, thrusting his red and blue hat on his head as he swung open the door. The tone of the day seemed to match Ness's newfound upbeat spirit. The sun shined brightly upon the housetops and cast the shadows upon the trees and fences behind them. Ness grinned as he pulled his baseball bat to his side. She will be fine for a little while, won't she? And so the young hero bounded from the porch to the White House and began to run as fast as he could. Then hit a tree, causing suit to coat his entire body. How that happens? We don't know. Well, looks like I'm walking for a while then, he thought to himself as he began to head south to the busy part of Onet. As he walked, he brushed to the black suit from his brown and blue and yellow polo shirt and his face. Ness eventually found a much more open space than required before CK teleported him. As much time as it takes to snap your fingers, Ness is finished. And with his shirt and face still bearing the remains of the ashes, he was headed for Tucson. Skidding to a halt, Ness successfully landed somewhat near his destination, though due to his lack of concentration, he had also flawlessly burned the souls of the shoots out of existence. He was considering teleporting to the preschool where Paula lived, but he didn't want to risk burning his shoes off entirely. The sounds of ghosts echoed eerily behind him. He had nothing to fear, as he knew. These ghosts never set off outside the tunnel that led to Threed. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught a glance at a silvery figure. Red beady eyes seemed to be glaring right at him. He was used to that too, well, of course. Though he had more than enough psychic energy left, he decided to walk, even though that the gravel from the paved road would painfully stab at his exposed skin with every step. And despite the walk across the city he had before him, he felt full of energy. Even the wind seemed to be pushing him forward, it seemed that only the nervousness from inside of him was the only thing preventing him from running at full sprint to Paula's house. His upbeat steps had grown a bit lethargic and unenthusiastic. It was already a long road, But the drawn out pace he kept was making with the trip seemed like it needed a greater distance. After a while, he found out he was slowing it down. His mind. Stopping dead in his tracks, Nez contemplated about just what he was about to do. Well, what could go wrong? He asked himself for the first time, and surprisingly, several things came to mind. She could say no, for starters. He knew this from the start, but if that happened, that might ruin our friendship. And then he pivoted 90 degrees on the pavement. Should I take now? Keep going. After a few moments of thought, Ned tensely traveled up the road that led closer and closer to the heart of Tucson. This time, he didn't let himself stall even with his pessimistic thoughts that clouded his mind. The trees and grasses now rolled by faster, and the rocks poking at his bare skin were hardly noticeable. For every step, he quickened until he bounded along the road. When he saw buildings creep up over the horizon, he knew that there was no turning back now. No time to think, no time for second thoughts. A returning ribbon of blue water now ran by the paved path that Ness had been traveling. The grasses around the river were much longer and greener than the short lawns on it back home. He then caught sight of it. Polestar Preschool. And thankfully, since it was a school day, no one was outside. Nez tried to clear the bad thoughts from his mind now more than ever, just in case he said something stupid. The uneasy boy approached the premise and stood behind the school's bordering wood fence. As usual, bright flowers were scattered all around the lawn, and a bench rested next to the duel. Next to the door. I don't know why I said duel. Yu-Gi-Oh! On the mind. The green roof looked as deep as the river that bordered some of Tucson from beside it. Golden wings whisked by the boy's brown eyes. Skimming his face out of habit, Ness made a lunge for the creature that was all too familiar to him. Trapping in his cupped hand, he took a deep breath and released it. As usual, the glowing insect hovered above his head for only a moment and vanished. Common sense now took the place of his growing anxiety, and though it still remained, he ignored it. A new voice made Ness jump a couple feet. Looking down, he saw a cat he had never seen before, and his light seemed conscious. The cat had jet black fur, but a snow white head. Ness only said it rested on the preschool's rule every time he came by. The feline studied Ness for a moment and took a long look at his face. A tacit imitation, the boy reasoned. So he began to decode the cat's thoughts. You're the one who saved Paula. Yes? The large feline's voice was neither feminine nor masculine. It puzzled Ness to no end, but he politely nodded. Thank you. The place is always lonely without her around. The cat dipped its white head down in a bow and glanced back up at Ness once again. The little ones are going to come outside and play very soon, so I must get back to my lookout position on the roof. All right, then. I'll be seeing you around, I hope. I guess so. The semi-mouser began to step backwards toward the home and school where Paul lived, but then turned around one last time. Its tail now lashed back and forth. Whatever you're about to do, I remind you that Paula is a kind human and takes her ally seriously. Good luck, my friend. Blinking at Ness, the cat turned back around and made a dash for the preschool's west wall. And just like the cat said, the door of the school creaked open. A flood of children just gushed out from the opening, like water spilling from a broken dam. Looking back up at the roof, the boy saw the cat he had just spoken to, sound asleep, as usual. Domino! A familiar voice called from the doorway. Domino, get down here! Instantly, the boy recognized the voice. His eyes darted back down to the preschool's entrance. Standing there was a girl with shoulder-length blonde hair and blue eyes. A ribbon tied some of her hair back. It also matched the familiar pink dress she had worn every day on the journey not so long ago. Paula. Her blue eyes didn't catch sight of Ness, but instead were fixed on the roof of her home. Silly cat, she mumbled, lowering her gaze. Like someone's missing lunch. She looked straight forward to seek out any children who seemed to be wandering off. But instead of finding a wandering kid, her eyes locked on the next who gave a nervous wave. A bit startled, she blinked twice before acknowledging him. Hey, Ness, she gave a wave back. What brings you here? She began her way across the white stone path to the house entrance, wading through the pack of children as she walked. Ness' stomach began to churn once again, and he forgot to answer. Now in front of him, Paula looked worriedly at the boy. Hello, Ness. The boy still remained speechless and thoughts distant. Earth the Ness! Ness, now sapped out of his daze, gave an answer. Oh, hi, how's it been? He wanted to kick himself for his reply, due to the fact that it had nothing to do with this question. Oh, good. The kids at the preschool have been behaving very well since I came back. How have you been? Fine, too. King still stared at the cat, though. Paula gave a chuckle at the comment, though she never really met King, grammar error right here. She had heard stories back when they were traveling. Same old doll, then? Yeah, Same old, same old. Long, uncomfortable silence laced the air between the two. Before they knew it, the children were being herded back inside by Paula's mother. Listen, maybe we could talk later? I have to go back and help Mom with the kids. No, no, wait, please. Paula's mom signaled her to go back inside. The blonde haired girl glanced back at Ness for a moment. Please? He asked urgently. 5 minutes, Mom! Paula hollered back to her mother, who nodded. The door clicked shut once again. So, what is it, Nez? She asked, slightly irritated. This made Nez lose even more of his nerve. Oh. Nez said it quietly, like his usual self. Well, yeah, I wanted to tell you something. I forgot what it was. The color of his face changed to a deep pink color. Paula looked at him for a little bit and concentrated on his forehead. Nez stiffened, not sure why she was doing this. Nez, she said after a while. Yeah, he stumbled. You do realize I can read your mind, right? He blushed a deeper red. He completely forgot about that. Paula stepped a bit closer to the boy, making Ness's heart race faster than an exit mouth eating a skip sandwich. You too, she whispered and pulling him into a hug. After a moment of shock, Ness began to hold her too. It was far better than he had ever expected from even his own dreams. So that is Realizations from a Scrapbook. It was okay. There are a couple grammar errors here or there, but I think this is like more of an archival story. I think on his author's page he said he's not right. He's not doing this type of stuff anymore. So I wouldn't really bother to fix anything. So probably just, but if he did, probably just space these out. Fix that one. Let's see. Where is he? Where is it? Where? There, here, right here. And then change that to really Met King. That's it. That's really it. I think it's okay. Not really spectacular, but it's like, it gets the job done. And just Ness kind of confessing, but then Paula reads the boy's mind. That's okay. Eh. This has been Dark Symphony 777, and cut.